Hey guys, today I want to do a video for you on why is pending home sales falling. Why is it that people go on the contract and they're not getting to the closing table, or they don't go on the contract at all, they just look around to see what's out there for sale, right? So why is pending home sales? Pending home sales mean that you're under contract about to close, but it's not closing. Why is that? One of the biggest thing is buyers are waiting for interest rate to fall. And a lot of times, especially when you buy new construction, right? When you buy new construction, you go under contract and you got to wait for the builder to get the home ready. Sometimes it takes 6 months up to 2 years for this home to be ready. By the time the home is ready, there's a lot of things that happen with the interest rate. And if the interest rate increase significantly, sometimes you don't longer qualify for the home. That's one thing. Secondly, lenders are being more strict. They're being very strict with lending right now because of the way the economy is. The economy is not clear. A lot of uncertainty in the economy. So the lenders, they don't want what happened in 2008 and 2007 repeat itself. So they're being very strict in the way they lend. They're now asking for more and more items, or they're asking for the same items 25 different times in 25 different ways. And sometimes people can't come up with the items, or they get frustrated over the process, especially if they didn't put a lot of money down to begin with. They're like, you know what, just forget it. I don't even want to deal with this anymore. Also, they're regular buyers, not buyers buying from builders, but regular buyers that, you know, while they're on the contract, something up with the interest rate. And sometimes the lenders are like, well, the interest rate just went up by whatever percentage. And now in order for you to buy this home, you got to put more money down. You got to bring more money to the closing table. Sometimes the buyers don't have that extra money to come to the closing table with. And then that's why it would fall. And then there's less and less people on the market as well to buy because, again, interest rate, economic uncertainty, and the prices of homes. There's a lot of buyers are saying we're going to wait for interest rate to drop and for prices to come down. The problem with that is when that happens, it's going to become what we just went through during COVID, where interest rate was low and there was a lot of demand. So there were people overbidding and there was a lot of bidding wars and all that great stuff. So that's what's going to happen if interest rates go too low or if prices fall, and if prices are going to fall. But let's pretend this happened. So when prices are low and interest rate is low, more people could buy a home, so we're going to have more demand. If prices are high and interest rate is low, people could still buy because interest rate is low enough for them to afford the higher price home. When home prices are high and interest rates are high, we have even less people on the market because there's less people qualifying to buy a home. Interest rate is high, meaning the monthly payments are going to be higher. So you have to be in a certain income bracket to buy a certain price to home. So let's say interest rate is at 4%. If interest rate is at 4%, you probably would be able to afford to buy the same home for $500,000, right? So say $500,000, I qualified, interest is at 4%. If interest rate climbs to 6%, then you probably will not be able to qualify to buy the $500,000 home unless you bring more money to the market, or unless your salary can afford it and your debt to income ratio can afford to do that. So what we find on the builder side a lot of times, because right now in our area, new construction is a big deal. That's what's selling right now, because builders are giving incentives that a regular home seller may not necessarily be able to give. Because builders are buying down the interest rates. They are coming up with all these different programs to help buyers to get in a home. A few days ago, I got an email from a builder that we work with a lot. And that email said now they're doing a 3.5% homeowners down payment assistance. So let's say you're going to buy a home from them for $400,000. And let's say you're a first-time home buyer, you qualify for FHA, you need 3.5% down, but you don't have the 3.5% down. They will do a down payment assistance where they give you that 3.5%. And if you stay in the home as an owner occupied home, which means you live there, then you don't have to pay that back within the next 3 years. So if you bought the home and live in here for 3 years, you don't have to pay that 3.5% back. In addition to that, so think about this. The home is $400,000. They're going to give you the 3.5%. You need to put the down payment down. The builders are going to pay all your closing costs. So as long as you qualify to pay the monthly payment, you could go in the home with little or no money down. So that's what a lot of the builders are doing. And this particular program is only designed for this particular builder. Because I asked a lot of questions. They're like, nope, it's only with us. It's a program that we have been able to get with our company. And if any buyer want to buy a home from us, so they're going to get the 3.5% down payment assistance, will finance and still buy down the interest rate, FHA, and they'll be able to go in the home. And as long as they live in the home for 3 years, they don't have to pay that 3.5% back. So that's a phenomenal program. So a regular homeowner would not be able to compete with the builder with that kind of program, unless they are selling their home and they have a cash buyer or someone put in more money down. So this particular builder is targeting first-time home buyer. So if you're a first-time home buyer and you need any more information, let me know. That's what they're doing. They're giving you down payment assistance so you don't have to come with a 3.5% down. And it's only for that particular builder only. So that's some of the things that builders are doing. I got another email this week from another builder. They will have you start off at 1.99%. So they'll buy your interest rate down. The first year you pay 1.99%. The second year you pay 2.99% interest rate. The third year you pay 3.99% interest rate. And the fourth year you're paying 4.99% interest rate, and it stays that way until the end of the loan. So it's a 30-year fix. 1.9 in the first year is called a buy down, right? And this is a 4-1 buy down. First year 1.99% interest rate, second year 2.99, third year 3.99, fourth year 4.99%, and then it stays that way to the end of the loan. So that's also a great way, and that is just for that particular builder. So different builders are coming up with different incentives to get you to buy, and they are doing this so that when someone come and go on the contract and interest rate goes up while they're on the contract before they close on the home, that interest rate will not be a factor in them backing out of the deal. Because that's what's happening. That's why pending sales are falling. Because people are going on the contract and they cannot close because something happened with the interest rate while they're on the contract. And now, one, they either don't qualify for the loan anymore, or two, they don't want to buy the home anymore because now the payment is too high and they don't feel comfortable doing the payment, or three, their debt to income ratio no longer supports them buying that particular home because of the higher amount of monthly payment they have to pay because of the rise in interest rate.
This program is brought to you by Gift Group Sells Homes. Need to buy or sell fast? Make one call, that's all, and put our 23 years of experience to work for you. Gift Group Sells Homes is the way to go. Call for 07-791-4713.
So that's very, very important. So if you're in the market of buying a home, I would suggest, and if there's new construction in your community, I would definitely suggest you get a realtor that has experience in dealing with builders and have them help you to buy a home. Now, I always say you want to have a realtor, and I'm a realtor, and like, yeah, you're going to say that because you're a realtor, but that's not true. You want to have a realtor in your corner to help you to understand what the builder is offering and to help you negotiate with the builder on your behalf. Remember, a realtor have experience in all these different fields and you don't. And if you don't use a realtor, that would be like me coming on your job, trying to do your job with no training. And that's what I've always tell my buyers, my clients. I'm like, imagine me, I'll ask them, what profession are you in? And they'll tell me. And let's say they said they're a doctor. And I'm like, imagine me trying to go into your office to do doctor stuff. I know nothing about doctoring or any other field for that matter, right? So you always have, and I've always learned this over the course of my life. If I want something done, I need to go to the profession who is proficient in that thing, and so that I could get the best deal possible or get the best education. So if you're looking to buy a new construction home, use a realtor. If you want to go look at new construction, like you want to go around and just look at new construction homes, it's fine as long as you don't sign anything with the builder. Because if you sign anything with the builder, you can no longer use a realtor with that builder, because if you sign something and then you're like, you know what, maybe I should use a realtor because I'm not understanding what these salespeople are telling me, and you try to go get a realtor, and the realtor come with you now, and they take your name, and they're like, wait a second, weren't you here 2 weeks ago and you signed this stuff with us? Yeah, you can't use a realtor. Yeah, and I've gotten a lot of calls like that. I've gotten so many calls like that. Oh my God, Sandy, I didn't realized I was signing. I thought I was just filling out a form for them, but now they won't let me use a realtor. And I'm like, when you go to the builder, ask a lot of questions. Don't sign or fill out anything. Just ask a lot of questions, find out what their programs are, get their flyers, tell them they could even write stuff down for you if you're going to forget what they tell you, and then make sure you carry your realtor, because a realtor also knows a lot of inside stuff about particular builders. They might know how to get you an inventory home. An inventory home is a home that the builder has built and someone was supposed to close on it and the deal fall apart, and now the home come back on the market and the builder doesn't want to keep inventory. They don't want an inventory home. They want homes to close. That's what they want. That's what they're in the business of doing. So typically an inventory home, they will give you a better deal. They might have a better interest rate on that particular home. They might give you more money towards closing costs. The home may have upgrades that it won't charge you for because it's already in the home and they just want to sell it. So inventory home is going to be important. Same thing like a spec home. So a spec home is really a speculation home. That's what it really means. So they call it a spec, right? They're speculating. So let's say the builder build a home and they're speculating that most people will want this particular model home and they'll want these upgrades in this particular model home. They build a home and they want to sell it. Let's say they're like, okay, we're going to start off at $500,000 to sell this spec home. Let's say nobody's biting. Nobody's buying the home for whatever the reason is, whether it be the location, the decor, whatever, the model home, whatever it is. Nobody's buying it. They're going to start to lower the price or put a lot of incentive on that home to get it to move. So they'll say stuff like, if you could close within 30 days, we will buy down your interest rate by so much and we'll cover all your closing costs and all that great stuff, right? So a lot of times when these things happen, the sales rep for the builder is going to call all the local realtor or send an email saying, listen, we have a spec home or we have an inventory home. If you're able to find us a buyer and they're able to close in 30 to 45 days, this is what we'll give the buyer. So the builder is not going to tell you that when you walk on. Like when you walk onto the builder premises, they're not going to tell you that because they're not trying to, you're a buyer off the road. They're not trying to sell you that. They're trying to sell you something that's not yet sold. They want to sell you retail, not wholesale. So let's pretend the spec home or the inventory home is wholesale, right? Because they're putting all these incentives on it. They want to sell you retail. They want to sell you off the board. They don't want to sell you. They don't want to tell you what's inside and what's going on. And a lot of times I'll go on a builder's development and I'll say, hey, do you have any spec home? And they look at me. The sales rep will look at me like, you shouldn't be asking us this with other buyers around. We don't want them all to know that. This is a special deal. So that's one of the reasons why you want to work with a realtor. Another thing you're working with a realtor is when builders are about to open a new development or a new subdivision or a new phase or whatever they're doing, they're going to come to us and tell us first because obviously we have buyers that we're working with. So that's one of the reasons why you want to do that, and you want to understand the builder's language. There are certain things the builder will not do. Builders stick to their timeline. When it's time for you to close, you have to close, and you must know this up front. They're not gonna, especially if you're not using their lenders, which obviously if you're not using their lenders, they're not going to give you any incentives anyway. But if you're not using their lender and you can't, and you're stalling closing, that's a problem. If their lender is telling them, listen, this person is clear to close, we have no idea why they're holding the closing up, the builders are going to charge you per day. For every day you do not close because of your reason why you can't close, not the builders, they will charge you. However, when the builder can't close on time, you have to wait for them. They're not going to say, okay, we'll cancel contract because we can't close. No, they're going to say, we're waiting for CO, we're waiting for this, we're waiting for that, and you're going to have to just wait on them. That's the thing. So builders have very tight timelines. It is a certain way to work with builders. You can get a lot of incentives from them, but you need to know their language. All right, let's talk about resale. There are some sellers right now that are also offering a lot of incentives. Some sellers are offering to help to pay your closing costs. Some of them are offering to pay your HOA up to a year. Some of them are offering to, be more flexible with inspection contingencies. For an example, if you went out and you did an inspection on the home and there's some things wrong with the home, some owners are now more flexible in working out terms of, okay, let's try to get this closed. On the other hand, a lot of buyers are also taking advantage of the market. I can't say I blame them, but they are. So now a lot of buyers are trying to get way more than what's being offered. For an example, let's say we see a home, the home is $400,000. They want to offer $350,000 or something crazy like that. let's pretend they offer 380, right? So the home is for 400, they offer 380. Let's pretend the seller accepts and say, okay, fine, we'll sell it for that price. That same buyer will then go in the inspection and find every nitty-gritty thing to ask the seller for. And at that point, that's where the clash comes in, right? Because the seller is like, I'm giving you the home for $20,000 less, and now you're finding all these crazy, ridiculous things on the inspection report to want me to ask me to fix. So we have to be reasonable on both ends. Same thing on the builder side as well. When the builders are giving a lot of incentives, some people still get greedy and no, but they need to do this and they need to do that. You got to be reasonable, guys. Both sides need to be reasonable for us to come to a closing. So be very mindful of interest rates when you go into contract, whether it be for a builder or for a regular seller. Make sure you understand what interest rate you qualify for. So let's pretend you qualify. Let's pretend when you got your pre-approval, interest rate was at 6%. Let's pretend you went out and you're shopping, home shopping, and and 3 months later you finally found something you want to buy. You have to check back with your lender, especially if interest rate went up within the 3 months. You want to check back with your lender. Hey, am I still good? I know interest rate went up by a quarter point or a 0.25%. Am I still good? When you gave them the pre-approval, it was at 6%. Now it's at 6.25%. What does that look like for me? What does my monthly payment look like? Is my debt to income ratio still good? And am I still good to buy this property? What if it went up by another 0.25% while I'm on the contract? Would I still be able to close? You need to know all this stuff because remember, guys, a lot of times you could lose your down payment, right? I know they say, if you don't qualify for the loan, you got to get your money back. Not all the time, because sometimes the contracts have a financing contingency that says you will be approved and get full financing within 30 days of this contract, or you will be approved and get full financing within 45 days of this contract. If those days have passed and you did not ask for a contingency you did not ask for a contingency extension on financing, then you could lose your down payment. So in this market, be careful. You need to know what the financing contingency is. We all know what inspection contingency is, but you also need to know if the contract has a financing contingency and what day does the contingency end. And if it's coming up to that day, will you be able to do an extension? Because a lot of times you don't know this, but I'm telling you, a lot of times the financing contingency ends and you don't know, and they just don't say anything because they're like, oh yeah, they're going to close anyway. It only becomes a problem when the financing contingency ends. You never ask for an extension. Now you're telling them, hey, I can't get the loan. Now they want to hold on to your down payment because in their minds, you held up our house for all this time and now you're not going to close on it. So now they're going to look for any reason at all to hold on to your down payment. So that's why you must understand what is the financing contingency in your contract, when does it end, and make sure if you're using a realtor, they stay on top of it so they know, okay, if it's going to end tomorrow and we still don't have financing in place, we need to have an extension. Both buyer and seller must sign off on the extension contingency for it to make sense. If both of them don't sign off on it and you're the only one signing it, it's not in effect. Okay? I really hope this helped, guys, but this is why pending home sales are falling. You need to understand when you go on the contract, what are the rules of the game? What's the interest rate doing? If it increases while I'm on the contract, can I still afford to buy the home? If I'm buying from a builder, what is their financing contingency? What are they offering? Are they going to help me buy my interest rate down? Which they probably will. That kind of stuff. So, hope this video helps. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.
This program is brought to you by Gift Group Sells Homes. Need to buy or sell fast? Make one call, that's all. And put our 23 years of experience to work for you. Gift Group Sells Homes is the way to go. Call for 07-791-4713.